And we should be live. I'm gonna actually swap out of this first. I'm a bit too ahead of myself here. Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Trovenet, the Babbling Belgian, and welcome back to a stream. A GWENT Patch stream. That's not something we usually do. I'm just quickly gonna double check that everything is okay audio-wise. I'm gonna then shut this off and see that everything is okay. Looks like it. I am gonna now set the chat to my screen here so I at least can see if anybody else is in the stream. You know what? I'll do that through my phone. Always a bit of setup here. Should be able to have like stream statistics there. I can now go to the Play GWENT website as well. Definitely prepared to stream solidly there. And then I should be able to follow the current live stream. Possibly. There we go. See it here yet. Maybe I should swap this around. I'm gonna check this here first. So I see the stream is live. It is supposed to be public. Connection seems to be okay. So that is great. Just need some way of getting this on my phone here. Always a bit of a rough start, isn't there? And then there we go. Okay, so now I at least can see the chat. And that is that. Okay, and then I'm just gonna put the patch notes on my phone so I know what I'm talking about. I know most of the things that changed. But just to be sure, I'm gonna put that here and then we can start going with the stream. So let's go to patch notes over here and I just have that as a little bit of a reminder for myself here. There we go. Okay, so the new patch is here. We also have a new journey, so there's quite a bit to talk about. If there's anything you want to discuss specifically, let me know in the chat. I should be able to keep an eye out for that. And yeah, just let me know if there's anything you want to discuss specifically or just want to let me know what you really, really like about all of this. So, first things first, let's check out what the patch has actually changed cards-wise, because there have been quite a few changes in the patch. And there's a lot of things that I really want to talk about just to see if the changes were proper or were there things that haven't been changed. I'm going to actually start at the bottom for once, and I'm going to start with Northern Realms. Northern Realms, of course, you know that I really liked the stockpile deck I made last month, so the cooldown kings, which are still here. And they actually got quite a bit of a buff with a lot of the new card additions, or at least changes to existing cards, I should say. This one is probably one of the more underrated changes. So the Siege Master, now 2 power for 4 provisions, and when you play a Siege Engine, you summon yourself from your hand to the right of it and draw a card. So basically, free tinning for 4 provisions, and it's just really, really good, isn't it? Because if you have 2 of those in the deck, which I do now in my new Cooldown Kings deck, you just have 2 cards that automatically tin themselves from your hand and you get another card from your deck. So that's more tinning even on top of what Rafford's Vengeance already could do. So that is just really, really handy to do. I'm actually checking if I can somehow put this on my tablet, but it doesn't seem to be happening. No. That's really weird. I should probably put that on YouTube over here. I saw somebody saying something on Discord as well. doesn't seem to be relevant. Okay, nobody tagged me. That's fine. Let's keep the notes open. There we go. So yeah, Siege Master, really cool. Just adding basically 2 free points to the first 2 siege engines that you play. I mean, of course, if this card is in your hand. Otherwise, that will not help out. But definitely very cool change to a simple 4 provision bronze. Then, something that wasn't really mentioned in the patch notes, not that I detected. I'm just quickly going through here before I say something that wasn't in here. No. Oh, Siege Tower. Okay, there it is. But it didn't say in the patch notes that the provisions also changed to 4 from 5. So Siege Tower is now 3 power for 4 provisions, has an order ability where it still gains vitality for 2 turns. But if it's crewed, it boosts itself by 2 instead on its order ability, and it received a cooldown of 2 turns. So another very low provision card that is now also functioning as a cooldown card. For some reason didn't get resupply. Resupply has also been changed. I might actually try to get a proper card for that. Let's see here, what can we use for resupply? Well, Reinforced Ballista then, because resupply always works for that. So now they basically changed the description of resupply. Normally that was a condition that triggered when you played a warfare card, and then right next to resupply it said what would happen if you played a warfare card. But now resupply always implies that you reduce the card that it is on, reduce the cooldown of that card by 1 whenever you play a warfare card. So basically making Reinforced Ballista's text a lot smaller in the process as well. But still one of our most powerful siege engines, although that has changed a little bit, because resupply has now been added to a lot of cards that didn't have it before, functionally making these cards a lot more powerful, allowing those cards to just repeat their abilities way more quickly if you have the warfare cards to speed this up. One of these is the Battering Ram. Battering Ram hasn't changed, aside from that it now has a crew ability. The crew ability, I think the original crew ability gave it Zeal, right, if you were crew. But right now, if you're crew and you activate the ranged row ability, so damaging an enemy unit by 3, the highest enemy unit by 3, now you can choose which enemy unit you damage, which is really cool. And on top of that, it also got resupply, so the cooldown of 2 turns is also reduced to 1, well, by 1 whenever you play a warfare card, which is just really powerful. Another card that got resupply is the Carabalista. So the Carabalista also gained resupply, and the crew ability was changed. So normally if you placed him in between 2 soldiers, you gain 2 armor the moment you played him. But now that has changed, that at the end of your turn you gain 1 armor as long as this card is crewed. So basically becoming more and more protected as the game rolls on. I thought there was one more, and I don't want to skip cards here, but I think it's, I'm going to talk about Odrin in a minute, but Karak Frigate also gained resupply, and the ability also changed to a cooldown ability. I did mention that in my cooldowns Kings video, where I said like it's really weird that this card doesn't really have a cooldown, it just resets the ability every turn. Now that ability is functionally the same now, but the cooldown has been added of 2 turns. So even without crew, you can use this ability every 2 turns. But if you're crewed, the cooldown is 1, so basically giving you the same ability. Every single turn you just gain another volunteer that way. Not automatically, mind you, it's still an order ability. But on top of that, it also gained resupply. Meaning that if you trigger the Karak Frigate while it is in crew, and then play a warfare card, you can trigger it twice in the same turn. And also, of course, works really well with Stockpile if you have this card on your row. Rumored we don't really need to talk about, but we do need to talk about Odrin. Odrin was completely changed. So Odrin had a resupply ability before, where instead of boosting himself by 1, he boosted himself by 2, I think, on resupply. or when he was crewed, he boosts himself by 2 on resupply. This has now been completely removed, and Odrin has the very simple ability where he's a one-man crew, meaning that if he's right next to a unit that requires crew, that unit's crew ability will always trigger as long as Odrin is next to it. It doesn't require a second soldier to complete the soldier pocket. Also got a bit of a provision reduction, so now it's 6 for 5 with the crew tag as a soldier basically. So functions as a double soldier and can also give crew to 2 units at the same time, so left and right, which is really, really cool. I haven't moved him into the deck just yet. I might check out in a minute if I can change that. But other than that, yeah, it's just a really, really good card now. Just going through it. Of course, War Chariot also gained resupply, so again, reducing that cooldown by 1 for every warfare card that was played. And then Trollololo. Trollololo was also changed. So normally he gained armor, I think, on resupply. That has now been removed. And he doesn't have armor as a base, so normally he had, I think, 2 armor. But now whenever an allied unit uses an order ability, he gains 1 armor. So potentially, if you have a lot of order abilities that you can trigger and trigger and trigger again, this card can gain a single point for every order ability that you trigger, because he can transform all the armor into boosts whenever he wants to, but only once, of course. So this is a tricky card to use. Now, I think that's about it for the lower tier card, but the mad bastards at CDPR actually made Foltest Sprite even better. Foltest Sprite was already the strongest card, the strongest siege engine, and to my mind, in the Northern Realms faction. But now Foltest Sprite also gained, on top of all of the things that it could already do, also gained resupply. So that cooldown is going down if you use a warfare card as well. The one thing that makes that a little bit awkward now is that, of course, the winch is still an option. So winch is the warfare card where you would use a card's cooldown by 3 turns. But because of Foltest Sprite has a cooldown of 4 if you don't have a crew pocket. So if you use a winch on Foltest Sprite now, that 4-turn cooldown if you didn't have the crew pocket immediately gets reduced to 0 because of the resupply. So making winch even more powerful on that card if you don't have the crew pocket for some reason. But on the other hand, there's very little cards that winch now gets the full benefit from. Because of course the War Chariot already has a cooldown of 3, so reducing it another time because of the fact that you played a warfare card is not that interesting. I think the only card that that actually works on properly still is, of course, Ravage Vengeance. Ravage Vengeance luckily didn't get resupply, otherwise that card would have been even crazier than it already was. So that is a bit of the other side of the balance, I suppose. And of course, the other high tier card that used resupply before now doesn't have resupply anymore, but has a passive ability where whenever you play a special card, so it doesn't even need to be a warfare card, you spawn another Witcher student in this row. So basically still as powerful as before, if not to say even more powerful, because it doesn't even need to be a warfare card anymore for him to trigger another Witcher student, which is very nice. Just quickly going through here. I think I got most of it. Most of the important parts, I think. So Cryo Ballista, we talked about. Battering Ram. Yep, I think we did. Yeah, so everything from Northern Realms has been covered. So I really like this. I'm almost tempted to make a slightly adjusted version of this deck. I've already made some changes here and there. I think I removed the vest, doubled up on the correct frigate, and then added the double siege masters, of course, because they just add so much more tinning. The only tricky part now is that I only have 2 Zeals, and they're very flimsy for Ravage Vengeance in this deck. So that's the only problem I have with it right now. And we also don't have a Purify option with the new cards for Nilfgaard. Might actually be a problem. Yeah, but that's about it for Northern Realms. If there's anything else you want to talk about, just put something in the chat and we'll work from there. I hope you're all doing fine, by the way, this wonderful evening. So let's just get back from here. And then we can actually, well, we just talked about it. Might as well go to Nilfgaard immediately. Nilfgaard had a bit of a weird, well, not weird change. I think it fits Nilfgaard, but it's the part of Nilfgaard that I really don't like. So let's check the list here just to make sure that I don't miss anything. Let's start with Vattier. So Vattier used to be sees a locked enemy unit. That was his order ability, and that was basically it. Now, Vattier has his ability changed a little bit. So either he locks an enemy unit, or he sees that unit instead. So this has two edges to it. Either you lock, no, not lock. You can't just seize a locked unit anymore. Instead of having a lock, it needs to have the spying tag. So that's functioning a little bit more to the spying archetype. And you have a backup where you can lock an enemy unit instead, but having a 3-power lock card for 11 provisions is a bit weird, especially since it's on order. So you need to give that unit that you want to seize a spying tag, and then you of course need to be able to use his order ability. The other side of this is that that card will no longer be locked as it was before. So before with Vattier you always took a locked unit, so you couldn't use that card immediately if it had some fancy ability. You needed to purify it somehow beforehand, well, afterwards. Now that doesn't need to happen anymore. So on that part it is actually stronger. On the other part you need to apply spying, which is not something that you can do with a leader ability as of now, which you could with a lock with the imposter ability. And of course the imprisonment ability as well. So it is a bit of a double-edged sword. Get it? Get it? Get it? I made a joke there. Otherwise, the high tier cards for Nilfgaard mostly remained the same. Emir got a provision buff, so from 11 to 10, but the ability is still the same, if I'm not mistaken. So he could technically add more spying tags if you wanted to. Because every single unit that your opponent plays will get spying if he is on the board. Then I should check the list here. I think Philippe is probably the next nasty card. Yeah, I really don't like Philippe. This is just gonna wait, here it is. This is just gonna enforce the toxic part of Nilfgaard even further. So Philippe basically transformed into a lock and poison engine. So 6 power for 8 provisions. And you gain zeal if you have a vampire, not that that's the most important part, but his order ability, instead of damaging a status affected unit, allows you to apply statuses to your opponent's units. If a unit has no doomed, lock or poison, you will apply doomed. Well, if it doesn't have any statuses at all, you will apply doomed to that unit. If it already has a status, you lock it instead. And if it has already more than one status, you poison it instead. So technically, if you play your cards right, this card could always do double poison, double lock doesn't really do anything, but double poison is the main thing. And it has a cooldown of 1 turn, so you can use this every single turn. Very, very dangerous card. It's probably one of the Nilfgaard cards that you'll want to answer immediately, because that could spiral out of control with a lot of toll removal options just within this one card. Kind of making Masquerade Ball a bit more viable as well. Sphere's got a power buff, but that's not something to really scoff at. That's just still a 10-point card for 8 provisions, which is not that much. Other than that, let me check the list really quickly. Vattier, we talked about that. Yeah, we need to go to the lower end now, the 4 provision cards, because there were 2 changes there. So Mangonel, I think Mangonel is now not entirely working as you would expect, because the developers were very adamant about the fact that it does work as they expect, but not what a player might expect. But technically, whenever an enemy unit gains spying, so including any of the spying units that you play, you damage the units right next to that unit by 1. The weird things start happening when you play the Mage Infiltrator, I think her name is, yeah. So this card, because she could kill either of the units that she's next to and then move to your side, but Mangonel will count that as that unit receiving a spying tag. So if it moves to your side right next to another unit of yours, then Mangonel will actually damage your own unit. So that's a bit weird. But other than that, Mangonel is basically a damage engine for the spying archetype once again. Which is really, really cool to my mind. Originally, this card actually worked with reveals, but now it made its home with the spying tag fully now. The other change is actually to discard the Van Morlehem Servant, 4 power for 4 provisions, and on deploy you copy all statuses from an enemy unit to another enemy unit and you boost yourself by the amount of statuses copied. This is, if you already have a poison on the board, this is a better poison card, because she always will boost herself by at least 1 if you copy that poison status to another unit. And it's just a really solid 4 provision card now for Nilfgaard, especially if you're going with full statuses, which I'm assuming we'll see a lot of in the coming month. So I really feel like Masquerade Ball is going to be back just from those few changes, because people just want to try out the deck. But that's basically it from Nilfgaard, so no fancy other changes. I think we started out with the faction that had the most changes, so definitely something that, the developers really focused on Northern Realms. Because Monsters actually didn't get any changes. I might just check out Monsters really quickly just to give my 2 cents about that. Next up, maybe Squirtle. Squirtle got a buff to Great Oak, so both a provision and a power buff. So now 9 power and 12 provisions, in stark contrast with, I think it was 8 and 13 provisions, 8 power and 13 provisions. So this card could be up to 17 points for 12 provisions, which is a very good finisher to my mind, kind of putting it pretty close to the King of Beggars combo. Of course, that is still a little bit higher, but it is basically getting really close to that. Then, aside from that, Francesca, she was the poster child of this patch, has also gained a buff. Together with, I think it's the Elven Sage that card is called now, where the counters are now reduced. No, it's Saof. Saof has also been changed the same way. The counter is now reduced to 2. So you only need to play 2 special cards to trigger Francesca's ability, where she of course doubles up on your last special card you played. So the second one you played after Francesca was on the board, which technically could happen immediately. I'm assuming that wouldn't be the option you want to go for, but technically you could have a Dolblatana Sorceress on the board, giving you 1 special, and then of course through your leader ability, if you go with something like the Dwarven leader ability Markham Forge, you could get Tempering as well, which could be pretty nifty. So technically possible in a single turn, but probably you'll have to wait another turn to properly use her. Now, the other changes I think mostly are, they're also in the gold range, but I wanted to check out Saof. Wasn't that 9 provisions? No 9 provisions? Where's Saof? Saof. There, it's 7 provisions, I forgot about that. So this also now has a counter of 2 instead of 3, so while this is in the graveyard, you only need to play 2 special cards and it will come back as a sort of immortal thing, unless it gets banished, of course. So this turned it into a really strong card, because that basically guarantees that you can play it for at least 2 rounds, possibly even 3 if you get a couple of longer rounds. So very good special card now. And then the other changes are probably the biggest ones for Squirtle. This is slightly insane. So both Etriel and Murliega got a double buff. I think it is both power and provisions, or was provisions... Wait. I should probably check. Yeah, it's only provisions. So provisions from 8 to 6, but both of them. So through both of these cards, you lose 4 provisions, which is really good. Because now you get basically both of them are 7 for 6, which is also already pretty good, especially compared to some of the other Squirtle cards. But if you already control the other, you gain another 4 or 6 points of damage on top of that. Sorry about that. So yeah, very, very huge buff to these cards. So if you put them together, that is 7 on one card, and if you take the maximum, that's another 13, so that's 20 points with 2 6 provision cards. It's not the end of the world, but still pretty powerful change. And that's basically it for the square tile changes, which is also not too much, but especially these two is really fun, that has been changed. Maybe we should then go to Syndicate. Again, if there's anything you want to discuss, just let me know in the chat. So I see Cook Garrett in chat, so hi there. I should probably just get this properly set up and mute that so I can completely follow along the chat. There we go. So Cook Garrett, hi. I kind of missed your chat there for a second. So then, Syndicate, we're up to Syndicate already. Syndicate got and I actually need to check that through here now, a provision nerf again for Jackpot. So Jackpot is now from 13 to 12, which is of course a pretty big deal. But still, I think what really needs to change is the ability itself. You can keep putting down the provisions. This ability is still insane. This passive mainly, so where you get boosted on every single excess coin that you generate. It's just too powerful and makes Syndicate a bit too easy to play, to my mind. I don't know what your thoughts on these are, but yeah, Jackpot, the ability just needs to be reworked. To my mind, it could even just lose this passive and then just be put back up to like 16 or something, because Blood Money also doesn't have a passive, so it's not like every single Syndicate ability needs a passive ability. Even Congregate doesn't have a passive ability, so the 16 provisions seem to be fine for those single use abilities. And that passive it's just insane. I think we all know that after the past months that we faced Syndicate over and over again, and there was always Jackpot. Speaking about overpowered cards, King of Beggars got a double power nerf, meaning that he went from 3 to 1 power. So yeah, it's just he loses another 2 points, but I still think this card is more than worth it. It's 13 free points that you don't need to do anything specifically for. If you just have the tributes, you just gain everything back. So basically what I always try to compare this card to is that it's basically the same function as Sunset Wanderers. So if you just shut this down for a second, it's basically Sunset Wanderers, and that Sunset Wanderers is also a card that you don't really need to do anything for, and you get 3 points. Sunset Wanderers is even more complicated because you need to keep that card off the right hand side of your hand. But yeah, it's still a card that generates 3 points. And this is actually 13 provisions, while King of Beggars is still only 12. And of course, coins can be used for more than just one-to-one point generation, which is, yeah, still a very strong card. And I'll probably use it in my bounty deck that I'm working on. Other than that, I think, yeah, the only other change was the other leader ability provision buff, not provision buff, provision nerf, actually, of the books went from 16 to 15, but also gained another charge. So basically you gain 2 coins extra for 1 less provision in your deck. So pretty good, I think. That still gives you only 8 coins, but of course you still have the passive where every single tribute is cheaper. So giving you the flexibility of 8 coins spread over 4 charges is very, very good, as we've seen with line pockets as well. So definitely might be seeing a bit more use. Not that I'm planning something with it, but we could try and make this work. And that's it for Syndicate. I don't know, yeah, there's not much to talk about Syndicate-wise. There's only 3 changes. So yeah, it's still one of the stronger factions, I think. That really didn't change with these changes. So I think we'll just still see a lot of Jackpot on ladder. That I really don't think that's going to change. I don't know if you have any other opinions on that, but I don't see that changing anytime soon with these changes, because yeah, the cards they really change are so powerful that it doesn't really matter. Even if you would put the counter back to something like 10, That's still 11 points that you don't need to play. So yeah, that's still, it's really a very good support card. Yeah. That means that we only have one faction left since monsters didn't receive any changes. So Skellige. Skellige got some more support for self-wound. I'm gonna quickly grab the list here so I don't forget about anything. And that needs to go all the way up here. Yeah, there's a few gold cards that received changes, and those are the middle gold cards, which always makes them really tough to fit into your deck. So Nilfgaard has changed to, well, his ability, instead of a deploy ability, it's an order ability. So you damage an allied unit by half of its current power. You can also choose the unit now, which you couldn't before. You need to put him on the left side of that unit before. And then you damage an enemy unit by the same amount, so half of the power of the unit you just damaged. If he is damaged to 5 power or lower, you refresh the ability every single turn, which is a very powerful damage engine if you think about it. Because if you put him, for example, right next to a Triassic veteran, you could do 4 points of damage every single turn if you play your cards right. So self-wound is going to be very powerful just because of the Nilfgaard change. Yeah, it's just immensely powerful. Then we have another card that has changed in that direction, and that is Sigvald. Sigvald is a bit trickier. His ability has become quite complicated, so he's changed to 7 for 7. And whenever this unit is damaged by other abilities, you gain bleeding for the same duration instead. So meaning that this card technically cannot be damaged, so he gains the bleeding. And his order ability allows you to damage a unit by the duration of the bleeding. And then you purify him. You don't reset this ability, so you only use it once. But of course, it is an order ability, so you need to also wait a turn before you can use this. If you use this with a very hefty Ceres Fearless, for example, this could be a very big damage hit. Because it's a bit weird. So if you use that damage on an enemy unit, he damages himself by the same amount, so possibly killing him. Because that's why this says other abilities. If he damages himself, he does actually get damaged. If it was an ally, you boost yourself by the same amount. So basically what you want to do is not damage your opponent, you want to damage your own units, so you gain the points that you damaged on any of those other units as points yourself. So yeah, that is... It's a really weird card, but I think it might actually work. It's a points engine that works on self-damage, so it's a really weird concept to wrap your head around. But I think after you use it a few times, you'll get the hang of it. But again, it's an order ability, you can only use it once. And you really need to use it on one of your own units. So if you can do that on a barely alive unit, yeah, you can actually gain a lot of points from just that. Like for example, one of the what's it called, the Herald spells from Herald Houndsnout over here. Those spells are just 1 power, so you can apply whatever damage you want on those things. You'll get 2 extra damage from that regardless. And then just get the rest of the damage in points on Sigvald. So could be very good, but again, it's basically has the same issue as a lot of the self-wound cards, is that you need to set it up. And every card that needs to be set up is inherently weaker in Gwent because of the way the game works, and the way that most players prefer those instant deploy abilities, things that you can use immediately and cannot really be blocked by poison and lock and stuff like that. Then we have, Restore. Where's Restore? Restore went down from 6 to 5. So 5 provisions only for Restore, which could be very big if you play it on Melusine. So restoring, healing an allied unit and boosting it by the amount it was healed. So it could be very, very powerful just for 5 provisions. And on top of that, it's also an alchemy card. So take from that what you want. And I almost forgot one of the biggest changes. Get an ETH. Getty has been nerfed to 14 provisions, as most of the older scenario cards already had. So Getty definitely struggled, well, not struggled, was seen as a very powerful card that is now just put on the same level as stuff like Siege and the older scenario cards. I think Haunt is also 14 provisions. And that's basically it. There's, I think it was a power change to the Uncreate Warrior. Where's the Warrior? Should probably search that, and my keyboard is over here, so that's not good. So the Uncreate, and of course, yeah, the Roll Warriors. That was a good one. So there he is, the Uncreate Warrior. So from 3 power to 4 power, and then the other one is the Axeman, also visible here. You damage a unit by the amount it is already damaged, instead of just killing something that is half damaged. So it could be a little bit more useful, especially if you could even use it as a self wound. You damage a unit by the amount it is already damaged. But most of the time I think it would already also work in like a warrior's deck, where you add some more damage on something that is already bleeding a little bit. Okay, that's about it for Skellige. Which wasn't a lot either, so this patch was pretty limited, aside from the big Northern Realms overhaul for cooldown, and then Nilfgaard got a few interesting changes as well. But that's basically it, not that many changes patch-wise. The only change that we didn't really talk about is the neutral change. There's one neutral card that has been buffed, which I really don't like. So Vigo's Muzzle is back. Changed from, I think it went from 5, right? Yeah, so the seize cap from 5 to 6 and the provisions from 11 to 10. So this is now a immensely powerful spell where you get, well, technically it's only 12 points, but it is a seize. Seizing is always annoying because your opponent will be stealing your card. So basically this is a buff for Nilfgaard, or at least I see it as such. Vigo's Muzzle is just really, really good now. It's basically back to the old school days of Gwent. And that's about it for all the changes. If there's anything you want to discuss further, we can do so. But that's basically all there is to the changes in the patch itself. I'm gonna come back to here later to just try and play a bit with the deck builder here. But before we do that, I'm gonna just go through all the ornaments in the journey list, so you can also get a little bit of a view of what has been added there. My first impressions just on the splash screen alone was that it seemed a bit low effort, and I might be attacked for this, but it seemed a bit low effort because the boat that Dandelion and Dijkstra are in just goes up and down, and both of the characters don't have any animations tied to them, so maybe that was a bit of a corner that they cut. But actually the ornaments in the journey itself do actually look really good. Aside from maybe the Dandelion skin itself could use a bit more improvement. I think it might be just the lighting in this game, but he seems a bit like he's made of candy floss, which kind of fits Dandelion, I suppose. But that's that. So again, the premium part of this journey costs you a bit of money. So I think it's 9 or even 8 and a bit for if you go through Gork itself, up to I think it's 10 on the mobile stores. So just because you had that markup from the store owners themselves. But what you get for that is actually pretty cool and functions, well, works really well with Dandelion himself. I'm not going to go through every single one of these because that would take us a little bit too far, but I want to just show you my highlights. And the highlights this time, to me at least, are definitely the card backs. The card backs looks really, really nice. They haven't always been this nice in the previous iterations. They looked a bit samey, but this time we really got a few bangers here. So the first one we get is Dandelion and Geralt. I don't know if you can reverse this one, since I haven't really got it yet. But previously they kind of doubled up on those, so you could unlock the 180 version of this a bit later on. But that's not the case in this one. There's only 4, I think, so no reversed versions of this. Then of course we get the quill. It still looks really weird. This one seems a bit low effort. The animation is all off, so I don't know what happened there. Then of course we got a few ornaments. The loot attachment to Dandelion's back, and this one is a balalaika, just a different version of. Yeah, it's not the same instrument. I shouldn't say that that's the same instrument. That's a bit wrong, but it's a balalaika. We got a few other borders. Yeah, I feel like the frame rate is a bit off on these. I don't know if it's a bug with the game at the moment. That looks horrifying, to be honest. It doesn't even look like... Is that supposed to be... Because it looks like it's just his face. Like someone put like purple paint on his face. Instead of... It looks really creepy. This one, of course, refers to the Vainglory card, so Dandelion Vainglory, this one, which you also get animated. Not that anybody ever uses this card, but still, you can get this animated. And the border actually looks pretty cool, because you get the hat, the sword, and then, of course, the dead wyvern, which is really, really good. And then we gotta keep a few extra shirts. I don't really need to go through this, but this, to me, these are the highlights. The music is insane. That is just really, really good. I'm quickly gonna check something here because I feel like I'm losing some frames on the stream. Just checking if I can do anything with this. Okay, I'll have to check later on. It seems like I'm losing a few frames. It's really weird. Just give me a second and just enjoy the epic adventure for a minute. I'm gonna quickly try and figure this out. Yeah, okay. Doesn't seem to be helping out too much. I'll leave the frame rate as such unless I can change this on the fly in OBS. I think there might be something wrong with the stream output settings, which I'm assuming I can't really adjust at the moment. Could put it a bit higher, but that's not gonna make that much of a difference, I think. Yeah, let's just go through with it for now. I'll see later on if I can improve that, but apologies for that. Let's continue on. We had the auras, the first of our auras. They're not that interesting this time, I think. Okay, you can change his shirt and his boots separately, which is fine. So they kind of split that up in 3 pieces now. So the head, the torso, and the legs. But of course, again, the card backs are where the real money is. So Dandelion and Dijkstra. Again, a reversible one that I don't know if you can actually reverse this thing. I'm hoping you can, but yeah, no promises there. We get Aced, which I think ties into the fact that the Valentine event, the love event, will feature both Dandelion and Priscilla, as it will be featuring Aced and Galante. So, and I think, was there another couple? Because we did get Dandelion and Priscilla beforehand. I guess we'll see. Maybe there's some more hints in this journey over here. Of course, we got a lot of Dandelion cards as well. Dandelion Poet is the next one. But of course, I think the music and the what's it called? The card backs are the most important part here. The Ballad is also a really banger tune. And we get one more later on. The Tavern Aura is of course the aura, basically the aftermath of this card. As you can see, the same items thrown around here, like the sausages and the chicken leg is basically what you get over here. It's also just beer mugs, knives, and chicken legs. Seems fitting. We get a border for that as well, with a cheeky panty worked into the card art here, which is yeah, it's an interesting choice, I should say. There we get him kissed all over in the face, full of love. Apparently lost his trousers somewhere as well, so that is just hilarious. That is just hilarious. It looks really low poly. Again, the quality isn't 100% what I expect from the skins in this game, but still it does look pretty funny if you face somebody with that skin. Then another card back with the succubus party, where he's singing along with a bunch of succubi, and of course that means we get the Maruna animated card as well. And then what's more important here, the final skin, no, the final aura, that's the concert aura. Of course we get his bass bell Zoltan as well as a card, and then the inspiration, creative inspiration card back is another very, very beautiful card back that is just really colorful. Which is not something that we've seen over the past few journeys, especially the one with the Aretusa journey had a few really, really desaturated cards, which was on purpose, but again, it wasn't really that. I personally didn't like it as a card pack. I feel like that could have been better. And then we get a traveling coat as his final skin. I think skin-wise, this isn't all the rage either. There might be a few in the contracts, which is the next thing that I'm gonna check, because that is actually something I haven't checked yet. So if you go to contracts, there's always the journey tab as well, and if you go all the way to the bottom, we can see what other things we can unlock. We get, of course, I'll just go from the top. We get Buzuki, that's another instrument for the skin itself. Fair enough. We get the buttoned shirt. Can I actually make that bigger? I hate that I can't make that bigger. So that's a different kind of shirt. Then the avatars of the one that the few that we just saw. I feel like the Dandelion avatar also seems a bit off here, but might be a different artist and that's why. Then we get Hair in the Wind. Okay, just loose hair, and then glamorous pants, so shiny white pants, that's fair enough, if you go with the stylish shawl or elegant outfit. Then with the button shirt or traveling bard coat, we get a simple pouch, or leather boots. Oh well, and leather boots, it's not an or story, you definitely get both. Then the red roses bouquet or concert aura, we get the yellow roses bouquet and the flute with rose as an instrument then, I suppose? That is interesting to me. Does that have different animations than the lute? Because the lute is held differently, I suppose. Next up, we have the phone. Okay. Oh, I'd love to see that. Does that also have different animations, a phonograph? And that's apparently it. So no new, as far as I could see, no new card backs or anything like that that's hidden in the quests, unless... Oh, there's a red hat over here. But that's about it, I think. Didn't miss anything else, yeah. A bit underwhelming, especially since we just came from the Regis journey. But still, there's a few very solid card backs and pieces of music there that I really, really like. Okay. I think that's everything on the patch notes and the journey. So I could end the stream here, but since we're still going along, I guess we can just play at least a few games. I think, since we're talking about what has actually changed in the game, that I should play with Northern Realms, even if I'm gonna lose to a lot of locking decks here. The main thing... Yeah, there was new music, Samuel. I just saw you. Maybe I'll just quickly go back so you can check that out. So there's 3 new pieces of music, and at least 2 of those, at least in my opinion, are real bangers. I'll just quickly display them here. So the first one I think is Adventure. Yeah, the Epic Adventure. I mean, that just gets you going, right, while you're playing the game. The second one is the Ballad, which is a bit more, I would say subdued, but it's still pretty up-tempo. So this one. So that's the Ballad. And then the final one is also pretty good. It's not my favorite personally, but I feel like it's something for everybody, the Masterpiece. So those are the 3 pieces of music that you'll get. You only need to get even level 81 for that. There's nothing else that you really need to do for that. So that is the music once more for you, Samuel, especially for you. Let's get back to the deck building then, so we can just discuss the deck itself. Yeah, the adventure is really cool. The epic adventure is something I'll definitely add to a lot of my decks, to just listen to that constantly. I do like the variety just because you get some new music to play with. It's always good to this, because I hear from a lot of people that they don't turn music on anymore for Gwent. And the fact that you get more pieces in Journey and that you can set them yourself, you can also decide whether you play the music that your opponent has set, or your own, or only Defender, something like that. It's just really fun for me to just keep this game spicy after the hundreds of hours that I've put into it. It's really, really appreciated. But back to Northern Realms. I think the deck is already in a pretty good shape. I'm still hesitating whether I should put some more warfare cards in there, but I really have no idea what to cut for it now. So I think with this list, I'm just gonna roll a few games and see how everything works out. Also, I know everybody says that if you go on their streams, but Samuel, you're from Belgium. A fellow countryman. So that's nice. Welcome, welcome. I was gonna say, if you're not subscribed just yet, you can always do that just to support me. But I'm almost assuming that you already are subscribed. But yeah, welcome to the stream. Let's just jam some more cooldown kings, even if it's not the same deck list anymore, the deck guide that I made of it a few weeks ago. So here we go. And it's so funny, I had this Dandelion card pack set to my game for weeks now. And by complete accident, it's also the Journey now, the Journey topic, which is... It's insane how coincidental that just turned out to be. There we go. I was thinking that took a long time to actually get going. Seems like the frame rate on stream is still pretty bad. I'll try to get that fixed by next time. It is weird too. That usually doesn't happen, or maybe it's a YouTube specific thing. I could up the bitrate just to see, but I'll have to check after this match. Holy hell, what a hand. We do face Nilfgaard. I'm gonna at least toss Volt as Sprite. We get another correct frigate, which might actually be pretty good. Yeah, that might actually be pretty good. I'm gonna leave Bombardment out as well for now. Ooh, we don't need... Do we need boat siege? Although that can actually hurt, that's just thinning. I can just rock double boats now. That is gonna be hilarious. Okay, so I could go with Rafford's Vengeance first, but I think it's fine to just hold off on that. So I'm just gonna go with the correct frigate, and we get the siege. Do they actually jump out both? Yeah, they both jump out. That is amazing. I could shield the boat, but I'm not going to. I'll see what else happens. We might get just the boat removed, but that's fine. I think I don't really care about the boat, especially since I have another one in hand. We did get a double winch, which is not ideal. We got a Dimeridian Bomb and then Madoc over there. Okay, so it's a Madoc deck. So yeah, I could reduce the cooldown. So click it first and then reduce the cooldown. It's probably the better option. So there we go. And then reduce the cooldown. So next turn I'll get that, and then I can protect the siege support like this. So that is just to set up the Rafford's Vengeance now. And that banishes the boat most likely? Yeah, okay. But that is fine. I can actually put Rafford's Vengeance in between here and then trigger it immediately. What am I gonna trigger it immediately with? Probably another boat. So let's do Rafford's Vengeance. And get the boat on the field here and get it over there. There we go. Don't really have another soldier to add to it now. That is fine, I think. There's no resupply on Rafford's Vengeance, but there is on the Karak frigate. So I can actually just do Karak frigate, winch Rafford's Vengeance, going it up, putting it up to 10, and then the next time I get my Karak frigate, even though I don't have a soldier right next to it. And there we go, we get a pass, which is, I think, fine. I could tin one more time. But I can always use Radovit in the next turn just for carryover. There we go. I should probably check if I can improve, because the frame rate is horrific. And it's just the gameplay. It feels like my my face cam is fine. What do we get here? Ooh. Ooh. So I can get rid of the winch, and then we get John Natalis. John Natalis. I'm gonna keep John Natalis. Yeah, I'm gonna keep John Natalis. Carabalista could technically go. I don't know if there's anything else I really want to pull here. Not really. I'm gonna keep it like this. I'm gonna play the siege support first. Just to see if I can zeal Radovit. And we don't seal Radovit, which is fine. So I'm just gonna use Radovit once. So let's just do this. Do Radovit once. And I can pause afterwards then. That should be fine. Vilgefords, that is gonna pull... Okay. Fair enough, I suppose. I could actually push all the way now. That is interesting. I could just push all the way now. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna protect with Donimir. And then start hitting Vilgefords over here and just start pushing. I can actually put siege behind the defender as well. And then the defender goes down. Okay, but then Rins is already gone. So that's Vilgefords, Rins. That's quite a few tall removal cards gone. I'm just gonna pass now. We'll see how that works out later on. I feel like I can still get this. That was really aggressive from Nilfgaard there. So reinforcement, so that means that we're fine on that, and a bunch of warfare cards. Can get rid of the winch. Margarita is always handy, and I just need a few, yeah, siege engines. So I think we're fine. Is there anything? No, I can pull both of those with the cards that I have, so that is fine. So finish redrawing. We basically have our entire deck available to us now. Because I can get Amphibious Assault and Voltes Sprite, and then of course also the correct Marine double up on. The only thing that I'll have to be careful about is how I play Siege here. I'm gonna play it immediately, and I'll put it in the front row, so I have a bit more space in the back in a minute. And there we go. Korati Heatwave, Villager Forts, and frickin' Marines. Okay. Somebody woke up on the wrong side of bed. I could actually do John Natalis. Yeah. Although I really want that warfare card working out differently for me. Let's do Cairo Ballista first, to see if that sticks. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Then I suppose Cairo Ballista. There we go. And my trebuchet is still doing work, so that is fine. Snowdrop. I can lock Snowdrop if I want to. But I guess that's fine. Okay. And we get 2 more extra cards, so that is a 12-point Snowdrop. I could lock it, but I don't think it's gonna be worth it, is it? Wait, so the Carbalista now has resupply as well, so I can start ticking down Snowdrop. Then maybe reinforcements on the reinforced ballista. Like this. And then put it a little bit further. And then we get another lock, obviously. I really need to play Henselt now. So Henselt goes... Or I play John Natalis first. So John Natalis into Amphibious Assault. Over here. And then I can play the correct Marine. Just thinking about how I'm gonna do my crew pockets like this, so that is fine, and I can boost the Cairo Ballista and hit Snowdrop again with that. There we go. And then we got Dordrak. So Dordrak. I'm gonna lock that thing. Just because I can. There we go. Oof. Oof, 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 oof. 12 points reveal. So it's that sort of deck. I can now put Henselt over here, Voltes Pride in the middle, and then start ticking away at basically everything. So hit that once, then leading ability, and leading ability again. There we go. Use Voltes Pride again, and then leading ability twice again, and that's basically all of our points down on the board. And there we go. So 7 points, 8 points ahead, and still have a little bit of engine potential on the boards. This could work out, because I think most of the tall removal cards are gone. It's basically all boosting. which is still pretty hefty, and I can't do anything against that. What I can do is now do bombardment. So that takes away a lot of the cards on the board, and then we can do yeah, Voltes Sprite again. So that's another 4 points, but yeah, we're not gonna win this. Our opponent has the reveals down. Ooh, and that finally gets rid of... Wait, if you had that all along, why would you do that? Then we can do boiling oil, purifying, right? That's the stuff that's right next to it, but that doesn't really matter. And I can do Voltes Sprite one more time. But that's 7 points, so that's definitely not gonna happen. There we go. Yennefer Divination. Yeah, that is one of those toxic decks that I was talking about. Really something that you can't do anything against. They just stuff it with instant destruction cards and then set their deck up for... yeah, I don't eat that. Okay. I could do that one more time actually. Because that was just perfectly tailored to throttle my deck. So let's do that one more time. I think I'll call it a video afterwards. I just hit my microphone. That wasn't very professional of me now, was it? And we face guerrilla tactics. Obviously. So that's gonna hurt my engine potential as well. But we do get a nice start. Double winch might be a bit too much of a good thing. Double frigate is nice though. Hanseled again. Hanseled means I don't need Voltes Sprite. Double Siege Master. I think it's just a bit too quick that they both come out, so let's do just this. Since it's Quietell, I could just try... Well, put Rafford's Vengeance dry on the board. Although it's probably not the best option. Yeah, let's put the Karak Frigate down first. And we get another card for our troubles. And then just protect that with a shield. There we go. And then we can use the siege support to get a seal on the board like we did in the previous game. Okay. So that's for every card that's alone on the row. Fair enough. I can use the correct frigate here, then use Amphibious Assault into the siege support. And I'm gonna reduce the cooldown of the boat once more and then get another volunteer for my trouble. That's another frigate I have. I only have 2 cards that I can use with Rafford's Vengeance, so I'm gonna have to be careful. Holy hell, what the hell just happened there? That was a lot of things at the same time. But Rafford's Vengeance, and then seal Rafford's Vengeance and get the other Karak frigate on the board, and let's just put that right next to the frigate we already had. There we go. That's a lot of cards in one go, because the Siege Master also came out of the deck. This seems weird. It almost feels like it's not Northern Realms anymore. Come on. Come on. And those are the times that you start... Yeah, that you're just waiting on stuff to happen. Ooh, that might be problematic. That could kill Rafford's Vengeance, definitely. And if they move it... Ah, yeah, okay, that... Fair enough. There it goes. It's 3 points on the siege support. I can double tap the frigates, of course. And then I think the Caraballista might actually be a good option here. Do need to be careful not to overplay too much. Although I don't really need to... Yeah, the winch is going to be useless otherwise, so putting it on the correct frigate gives us another volunteer and reduces the cooldown of the other one by one. Not the worst thing in the world. And then we get on Aeromancy, so our opponent is actually pushing forward. And going into Simlassen. That is even more interesting. Bountiful Harvest. Twice.
Now we will see who is weak.
Okay, and that gets them another special card. I mean, it's not too necessary to do anything else. I could just use Bombardment now, which gets me... I'm gonna actually do that. Just Bombardment, just 6 points and reduces the cooldown again. Oh, damn, wow. That is the worst luck in the world. Because that means that that damage has done nothing. Wow. Okay. That was... yeah, you can't get any more unlucky than that. They even passed after that, which was weird. But there we go. Gives us 8 cards, so if we have Radovid, which should almost be guaranteed at this point, we should be fine. But the problem is... that our trebuchets aren't really going to do much. Siege support over there. Boarding oil I'm definitely going to need as well. So might as well get rid of this. I mean, I'm going to need it in the next round. So let's just put Radovid down. There we go, Rock Barrage, which means that... I mean, that's another Milva hit gone, and I just needed the extra charge for carryover, which is fine. There we go, 4 charges, and I should have most of my engines available to me. There we go. There we go, boys. And that is fine. Fine, how do you do? So, final round. We get John Natalis and reinforcements. Let me see what is still in the deck, what I can still get. I need that second ballista, but I think I can go without winch. We get the second ballista. So I could get rid of amphibious assault. But if I do that, I risk not pulling it with Hansult. Risk pulling Fortress Pride, and I don't want to do that either. So there we go. Okay. So opponent starts. And I need to be careful with my cards, although there's not much to be careful about. I still have a Winch and Boiling Oil as warfare cards in my deck. And I cannot lock that, but I probably don't even want to lock that. Let's do Defender first and see how far that gets us. Defender could be moved, but unless there's something really hefty going on, it cannot be killed just yet. Or Karate Heatwave, of course. Fair enough. Now I definitely need to be careful. Because that could mean the end of every single one. So I'm gonna pull another Karak Marine with my Amphibious Assault later on. They cannot kill the Cargo Ballista, actually. So I'm gonna actually put that down as a proactive, not that, yeah, proactive play, let's call it that. Using the fancy terms. And then we get a Dryad Matron, which will die in a minute. I can actually kill that if I want to, but there's so many cards with resupply that I do want to avoid it actually. I'm gonna do it regardless. Just John Natalis into boiling oil and get rid of one of the Dryad Matrons. That way. It's probably for the best. And then I think I'm gonna put... Ooh, Cat Witcher.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Unlock that one as well. Just to make it take a little bit longer. So let's lock the Cat Witcher. I could reduce the cooldown on the Cryo Ballista, but I'm not going to. There we go. So that's killing the Cryo Ballista, which is definitely why it was there. And then making a bomb is also gonna be a Nova charge there. Okay, definitely not toxic. Hey, I'm gonna have to put the reinforced ballistas in the back because I don't want to risk, although Madoc is gonna do the risk for me, I think. So let's siege first. Hopefully that doesn't hit the Madoc. If it does hit the Madoc, I'm gonna be very mad. Thank you. So there goes Madoc. Wait, it didn't pass. It didn't pass a unit. Excuse me. Ah, damage it by 1 is the base. Okay. Fair enough. There goes the first one. So battering ram and reinforced ballista on the board now. If the ballista survives, I can copy it first. If it doesn't, then I'm in trouble. I'm really in trouble. Okay, that's the battering ram, and then we're gonna get a bomb on our face, I think. We're gonna get a bomb on our face. So that's some moon. And that is a Madoc they cannot tap. Okay. Okay. I'll hit the Dryad Matron. Then reinforced ballista. And then I need to get lucky with whatever this is gonna be. Okay. So now I can kill the Madoc. So it doesn't trigger anymore. And I'm gonna add a single volunteer so I can get my soldier pocket next turn. Just to hit the Dryad Matron a little bit further. I still have my leader ability. I still have Hanseled into... Ooh. It locks that one. Okay, that was a bit weird. Why would you lock that one? Okay. I need to go all out on my cards regardless here, so let's just get King Hanseled on the board, get Voltus Pride in between there, and hit the Cat Witcher first, and then Dryad Matron next. And I can use Stockpile once more, and use the Reinforced Ballista. Okay, there we go. There we go. It's over. We got a pass. Yeah, keeping Voltes Sprite at the very end is just such a good play. Just to bait out all the removal that you can. And there we go. Got our first journey level on top of that as well. That was really, really good. Okay, I'm gonna end it here. Hope you guys have a lovely evening. I really enjoyed the company that I had, even though it was pretty subdued. If you're watching this video later on, again, if you have any other questions about the patch or journey or any opinions you want to share, if you're watching this later on, do leave them in the comment section down below. And to anybody still watching, and of course at this point it's evening, for me at least, have a nice day or evening, depending on what you're going to do. So thank you guys enormously for watching, and hope to see you in the next episode or stream, because I was going to say episode of GWENT Patch, but this is a stream. So thank you for watching, and see you guys just next time. That's going to be clear. See you guys next time. Thank you all, and stay nutty. Goodbye.